Like, you need to be able to like be walking down your path of life in a very confident, fulfilling way. I think if you want to be successful in this. And I don't know that a lot of people teach it like that. And so like I would say like I'm very inspired by like the Tony Robbins style because I don't really know anybody that's like trying to like put that into like the actor world and the actor psyche. And I think it's so important.
We've got that gem and so many more. Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Jason Lockhart, and I have taken over Get Scene Unscripted because we have a very special guest today, the owner and founder of Get Scene, Jesse Malinowski. Make sure you tune in as we go over all of his awesome adventures of learning to serve the community and come from a selfless place, along with the origin of Get Scene and where it all began. And don't forget to stick around for the end for a very special and awesome announcement.
Welcome to Get Scene Unscripted. I'm your host, Jesse Malinowski. We are going to dive into acting insights, meet industry pros, and master the business. Don't forget to subscribe and share. We're keeping you behind the scenes and ahead of the game.
Hey, welcome to Get Scene Unscripted. I am stepping in today as the host. My name is Jason Lockhart, and I am a talent agent. Feel free to like, subscribe, and or leave comments during today's episode. It's a very special episode. And speaking of comments and reviews, we actually got a really good review this week, or Get Scene did. So I feel like I got to give a shout out here and read this one. This one is coming from Maloney Larissa. Shout out to Maloney Larissa. She says, or he says, or they say, I love starting my week off with this podcast. Jesse always over-delivers and brings on the best of the best in the biz to not only inspire us, but to give us actionable steps to reach our goals. I can't wait to hear the next episode. That's pretty awesome. And here we are at today's next episode with a very special guest, Jesse Malinowski, the founder of Get Scene and the producer of this podcast. How's it going, Jesse?
It's going good. It's going good. It's going to be interesting to be flipped on the other. I'm on the other side of the table.
I know. How's that chair feel?
It feels pretty good. It feels pretty good.
I was there a couple of months ago. Yeah.
I know. And it was great. It was awesome to have you. And your episode has so many streams and views. I know people love it so much. And people have found the studio because of it, because you're pretty famous. People look you up and they'll find you through the podcast and then get to work with you and learn a lot. And you give so much to the studio, and I really appreciate it, and that's why we love having you here.
Well, I love being here, but enough about me. Today is all about you.
All right.
I know your journey because we're friends, and I love a lot of it, but I'd like to get more details today and spread the journey knowledge a bit further if we can.
All right, let's do it.
So I'm a big fan of superheroes and origin stories. And
you are.
I would love to hear the Jesse Malinowski Get Scene origin story. So if you can paint the picture for us, like what was the idea behind Get Scene?
Dude, the Get Scene story, origin story is actually pretty good because it is so much based on how important action is. And so I had a good friend of mine, Ilan Srulovich. He was, and I went to school with him in New York. And we always kind of stayed friends. And he was living in LA. And I'm like, you should move to Atlanta, man. Atlanta is so busy and awesome. And so he came for a weekend to check it out. And he stayed with me. And so I'm taking him back to the airport. And he's like, is there like one of those like studios in town where you can like get in front of agents and casting directors? And I was like, I don't think there is. He's like, maybe we should start it, because he had decided that he was going to move here. And at this point, he was really good at making websites and stuff. And I was like, all right. I'm like, by the time you land back in Los Angeles, I'll have the first workshop scheduled. And then you can make the website. And he was like, all right. And so I dropped him off at the airport and just immediately got to work on like, who could maybe do this class? And I think he was like getting out of the car. And so all props to Alon. I was like, what should we call it? And he's like, I don't know. Get Scene? And I was like, brilliant. And it was like literally an idea in the car. And before he landed back in Los Angeles, he had a voicemail from me that was like, Jen Kelly from Big Picture Casting is the first workshop. And I thought she would be great because I was always going in person to Big Picture Casting. And so I knew them pretty well, Rita and Kimberly and Jen. And so I asked them, hey, would you guys do this? We're starting this business. And so Jen was the first one.
I wondered who was the first because it seems like you're friends with basically every casting director in the
Yeah.
Southeast. I was like, how did you approach her?
Yeah, I meit was because I was in person with them so often, and I always show up and I'm there early and I'm friendly and so I felt comfortable with them and I got callbacks with them a lot. So yeah, I think we're like I think that's an easy win. And I think sometimes when you're doing something that's probably outside of your comfort zone or something brand new, it's important to think about that. Like, how can I get an easy win, right? Because when you find and get a win, that can give you momentum. And if you get enough momentum, I feel like you can't be stopped. So, in that case, it was like, how can I get an easy win? Because, I told Elon I'm going to have this done by the time you land. And if I have that done, then that's going to inspire him to make the website. And if we have the website, then like we really got something here. And so that's how it all started.
Do you remember walking into that first workshop with Jen Kelly?
I'm not sure if I like remember the first workshop like that. I probably more remember like putting everything together. Actually, do you know what I do remember? And I don't think Clayton Landy even knows this. But this is what I remember is like it was like the second or third workshop and Clayton Landy was working out of the same space. And I was just like, now I'm like in my mid 20s or like younger, right? And so I'm just like, yeah, we're all great. Everything's awesome. And Clayton Landy, who I don't even know who he is at the time.
Brilliant actor.
And I go to his class and I'm like, hey, man, we're doing this really cool thing where we're like introducing actors to like casting directors and agents. Like, do you mind if I like talk to your class and tell them about it? And he shut me down so hard. Oh my God. It was so funny. And in his defense now, I would never let someone come talk to my class. So I totally get it. But I remember I was like, what a dick. But again, I would never let someone do that in one of our classes. So I totally get it. But like, that's actually one of the things I actually remember the most in like the very beginning of me like trying to grow it and like get in front of people and let people know. And that was just like one of the many things I tried that did not work.
That's funny. I respect Clayton's class for sure. It's a very high level craftsmanship in that
Yeah,
in that room.
definitely.
So it makes sense.
Yeah.
And I love that you say you get that now because yeah, it's
100%.
your space and it's, you've got your agenda in there and it's very serious and passionate.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, there's no way you would let someone walk into a 360
No.
and potentially sell anything. That's great. And then you ran workshops for a very long time.
Mm.
I know that, I did a lot in person, but you're not doing those really anymore. Now you've got other people in the room. How did that transition kind of go down?
If you're an actor, you're going to want to hear this. We have our 3-day in-person conference coming up. And if you want to see Atlanta for what it really is, the heart and soul of the Southeast actor market, then you're not going to want to miss this incredible opportunity to be in person and really build your actor community. Just imagine being able to hear exactly what you need to hear to be motivated and inspired and really build that action game plan, if you will, to build the acting career that you really want. And most importantly, if you put the work in, deserve. But I want you to imagine being able to like really feel being around an incredible community, the top industry pros, so you feel like this is what you're truly meant to be doing. And so everyone, this is all going to be happening at our 3-day in-person conference. I'm not going to take too much time from the podcast, so you can head to the comments in the description right now to get more information. And I even left a discount for you. So go check that out now, and I hope to see you at the conference in June.
How did that transition kind of go down?
I mean, that transition really happened in wanting to grow, get seen. I had to realize that some of the you can't just can't do all of the things, right? I loved running all of the classes, all of the workshops, and I took a lot of pride in creating them because I wanted to make sure that I was creating a class that was not the like pay to play type of scenario. It's like you might be here trying to get an agent as an actor, but I've created a format that you are going to learn no matter what. And so I took a lot of pride in creating those classes, and I loved running them. And myself as an actor grew so much so quickly, I think, because I was in all of those classes. I ran pretty much every single one. When we had our space, we had Candy and Patrick. They ran some of the classes too. But I mean, I ran them for the most part for, I would say, like 7 years doing, I don't know, we would do anywhere from 4 to 10 classes a month, and I was running all of them. And it really took the transition when the pandemic happened. And so we actually went back in person and we created a new structure to the in-person class to where it was like 8 people, all social distanced, and we split the class into like halves. And so we actually went back pretty quick. So I was running all of the in-person classes. Then obviously there was online classes. We also had our Actor Spark community. I was doing free classes like crazy. I mean, I think we were like busier than we had ever been. No joke, we were doing like over 20 classes a month, and I was probably running almost all of them. I'm sure Candy was in there too, running a lot of the classes, but like for the most part, I was like scheduling, doing all of it. And it was just like, this is like the max that we're going to be able to be. You know what I mean? So like the impact uh that we are giving to the community and to the actors, like we are maxed out. This is all I can take on essentially. So had to essentially just like be like, if we want to do more and we want to do more in different areas, then we're going to have to bring people on, and I can't necessarily run all the classes anymore. And so I took it very seriously in training the people that we have that run the classes right now. So Rebecca Gunn, Elaine Valdez, and they could tell you like it was not just like, and this is how you run the class. Like it was very intensive training that I gave them, because I'm like, you're not here just showing off tapes. How I want our classes and how I had to train that was like, one, we have to make sure every single person that comes through our classes are served in a big way. We had to make sure that I trained them in a way where, like, if the guest maybe wasn't giving a lot, right? That they know how to pull it out of the industry pro. Uh, that they also feel comfortable and confident to be able to give to the actors. So
And they do. I know that firsthand from being in there.
y-
Both of those women are really passionate about what they do in that space and trying to make sure that everybody's learning and growing.
yeah, and so I wanted, yeah, so it was very important to me that when I did kind of hand it off, if you will, that it wasn't just like, the classes kind of run themselves, you show up and, make sure, you know, everything goes well. It's like, no, like our mission is to serve the actors and do it in a way that everyone is learning, whether they kind of came for that or not. Yeah, like you're going to learn something, whether it's about the business, whether it's about the craft, whether it's about a technical, whether it's about connecting with more of the community. So anyway, to just kind of circle back, I guess, to the question, which is, you know, I I wanted to grow, get seen, to be bigger, and to be able to impact more people in a more powerful way. And so if I wanted to do that, I couldn't do every aspect of the business anymore. And so that's why I no longer do the classes. But sometimes I find myself in there, and I always love it. And it's like the where we started, it's great.
I love that. And you know what's fascinating to me about that is not just about acting, um, but about growth. And I've heard you talk a lot about growth and wanting to continue to grow. And from knowing you personally, I sense that sometimes there's fear in growth, fear of the unknown, fear of learning new things. How did that feel when you started to bring on people and train people and essentially like pass your child off into the hands of others?
It can be tough for sure. I mean, I think you have to just realize that like what got you here won't get you there. So the most important thing to realize in that whole kind of scenario, I mean, and it's still happening to today, in things that we're doing is like now I have to learn new skills. And I feel like I absolutely missed this when we had our space in Midtown. Uh, and it was great and I loved it, but I could probably honestly say like I wasn't necessarily ready at that time to be the leader that I am today. And the space would have been ran totally different probably. Um, so yeah, I think that the main answer here is that you have to understand that it's not just doing the same thing harder or doing the same thing more or doing the same thing better. Like a lot of times it takes totally different skills, right? So, in me doing the classes and having fun and learning and being like, I'm here to inspire people. Now I'm not inspiring the actors. I mean, I am, but like for that to really happen, now I have to inspire and build new leaders. And so now I have to be a leader in a way that can lead more leaders. And, whether it's, Rebecca, Elaine, Candy, whoever it is that's running a class, like inspiring them to then want to inspire. And that's different. So I think that, yeah, the biggest thing with that growth element is like understand that it's probably completely different skill. It's completely different.
I love that. And I think that that is relatable to all humans that want to achieve goals. I remember you saying if you have these big aspirations and big goals, but you keep doing everything that you're doing in life, how do you expect change to happen? You have to level up what you're capable of to be able to level up toward your goals and your dreams and achieve new things. Otherwise, it's going to be just a repetition of what you've been doing.
Yeah.
I remember you saying something like that, and I think about that all the time. And on a personal level, also wanting to grow and scale, and it's trying to figure out what new things can I learn and can I do that change my routine, to get me to a new place. You're not just going to go from making six figures to making seven, doing the same thing, right?
No, yeah, you have to be specific and understand like what are you going to change to create change, create the change that you want.
I love that. Well, let's dive backwards a little bit more into little Jesse, if we can.
Little
I feel like we
Jesse.
got big Jesse here, but like, who was little kid Jesse? Like, when did you decide, or when did you know? Like, I like movies and TVs and commercials. I want to be on camera. Like, what was the first like bug bite?
Little Jesse. um, you know, uh, the first thing that comes to mind, and my mom always tells me this, is that even when I was younger, I like kind of always ran the show in a sense. And I would say Jesse do. So instead of say like I want to do XYZ, I would say like Jesse do blah blah blah. Right. So my mom always tells me that. And then like I would even like if I was like playing with my dad or something, I would tell him, You're not doing it right. This is how you be Peter Pan, or this is how you jump on the couch, or whatever." And my dad would be like, "Well, what if I don't want to do it that way?" And like at that age or whatever, it wouldn't like register. And so I would just like and then just tell him again or whatever. So those stories are always fun to hear from my parents. But you know, I mean, I don't know. I played sports and I always liked drama class, but it was me not making the basketball team, which was bullshit. I was totally good enough for it. But it was me not making the basketball team that actually led to me getting into acting. I was like buddies with my drama teacher, and I went to her when I didn't make the basketball team, and I was like, "Hey, can I use the phone?" We didn't have cell phones back then. "Can I use the phone? Can I call my mom?" And she's like, "Why? What's wrong?" I was like, "I didn't make the basketball team." And she was like, "Good. I'm glad you didn't make the basketball team." And I was like, "The hell? Why would someone say that?" But then she ended up telling me later it's because she wanted me to, like, go more all in, with the drama stuff.
That's fascinating because I feel like in everyone's life, there are these pivotal moments,
Mm,
right? These pivotal days where you don't know it at the time because you're usually overcome with emotion of some sort, but it pivots your whole life.
yeah.
You know what I mean? And you can look back later and see, like, you wanted that so bad. And
Yeah.
yet, look what it spawned.
I know.
And how many lives have been affected by the choice that you made that day to pivot and to allow for it.
Yeah, yeah. And it's funny too, because if you go like, take that even a little bit further. So, freshman year, I try out for the basketball team, I don't make it. And I'm, like, heartbroken because 'cause I'm like, "Man," and the basketball team, like, wasn't good, and I'm like, "I could have maybe made that team better, like, I'm better than XYZ people, right?" Not the whole team, but, like, there are certain people, I'm like, "How did I not get on the team?" And then I found out that they, like, used a lot of there was, like, a tournament, team in town that a lot of these players had already played together, and so they kind of just were like, "All these kids have already been playing together on the tournament, so they're gonna vibe together, so we're gonna put them on the team." So I tried out for the tournament team during that summer going into sophomore year, and it was the best of both schools, and I made it. So it was AAU and we did all that. So I did all this effort, right? And then so I'm like sophomore year, I'm definitely gonna make it now. I was on the tournament team, right? It was the best of both schools. Still didn't make it. They just picked up the exact same squad from the year prior. And I just say that to say that there's, like, all of this effort going towards something else that actually didn't end up serving me at all. It led me to something completely different, and just the importance of, like, be open to change, and it doesn't mean that you're failing, it's just changing.
Evolving.
Yeah, evolving, yeah.
Yeah, it feels like failure. I know that from my own career. There were moments where I was like, that was a big day of failure, but it wasn't failure. It was more like a sign
Mm.
that pointed in a new direction, you know? It's very fascinating when you look back.
Yeah, oh, yeah, totally.
Okay, so then you got into acting. What'd you do? Theater or when?
Yeah, yeah. So it was drama club, and so let's see, we did a one act play to go to districts. I never saw another butterfly. It was about the Holocaust, really heart wrenching story, and I was part of the ensemble. And the guy, the main kind of one of the main actors, was he a senior? I think maybe he was a senior. His name is Isaac Yazger. I still remember him. It was crazy. He was so good, so good. So he's the lead, and
Wonder where he is today.
I know. I feel like I gotta
Right?
look him up.
If you're watching, Isaac, you know,
You made an impact.
yeah, you changed this guy's life, and maybe you need an agent.
He was so good, and something happened, and he had to drop out. He had some family stuff going on, I think, like, with his mom or something, and so then I got the lead, and then we went to districts, and so my first play ended up winning Best Supporting Actor.
Wow.
And so then that was like, then that's the first time I was on stage. I won the award. I like felt like this, it just felt like this drug. And I was like, well, I gotta keep doing this thing. This is great. And then from there, like I was like, I did some like community theater stuff. So I was like in the normal play in the high school while doing community theater, at another theater. So I did a lot of shows in my high school days from sophomore year to senior, and then I got a really good scholarship to take me to New York, and then I went to New York and eventually landed here in Hotlanta.
All right. What brought you to Atlanta?
What brought me to Atlanta was I was actually in Florida at the time. I auditioned for American Reunion, the fourth installment to the American Pie series, and I mean, I grew up on those movies. It was so, so cool. And I remember this is like more in my party years. And so shout out to my mom on this one. But I got a call back for it. I had to drive up to Atlanta, go to the studio. Lisa Mae Cannon is there. But prior to going to the callback, because it's my party years, like I'm at like some pool party the day before in Orlando, like on this like rooftop place. And my mom calls me and she's like, "Don't you have a callback tomorrow in Atlanta?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'll get there when I get there." And she's like, "Jesse, I think this is kind of important. Don't you think you should like, stop and go?" And I was like, "Nah, I don't know." And I hung up and I talked to some of my actor friends that were at the party too. And they're like, I was like, my mom thinks I should leave the party and, go start prepping for the callback. And they're like, "Yeah, that's probably a good idea." And I was like, "All right." And so, so I leave and my mom's like, "I'll go to Atlanta with you." And so my mom jumped in the car with me and we moved to, or we drove to Atlanta, did the callback. I went in, walked out 5 minutes later after our 7.5 hour drive to Atlanta. And I get in the car and I'm like, I booked it. I didn't book it, but that's just the confidence I bring to all my auditions. And I remember, my mom's like, "Really?" I'm like, "Well, I feel like I did great, And so she's like, "Okay." Next week, I'm like, "I'm definitely gonna hear. Don't hear anything." I'm like, the next week, I'm like, "I'm definitely gonna hear. Don't hear anything." The next week, I'm like, "I swear I thought I got it." And my mom's like, "Man, you didn't hear anything?" I'm like, "Nope." The next week comes. I'm on IMDb Pro too, looking at like when the shooting dates are starting. I remember it was starting, I think on like May 22nd was the filming date. So I was like, all right, if I don't hear by May 22nd, then I guess I didn't get it. May 22nd comes, don't hear anything. And I was like, wow, I thought for sure I got it. I was like, all right. I started telling people, yep, I didn't get it. Went to Atlanta, didn't get it. And I think a week after that, I got the call that I got it. And
Did they push the dates? Is that what happened?
I don't know what happened. Yeah, I didn't get a call until much, much later. And because it's a feature film, things can take longer. And man, how just naive I was. I remember that would like my agent called me and was like, "You have to find an address in Atlanta. Call me back immediately." So I did. And they're like, "All right." And this was like, I think like Friday. And they're like, "All right, you got to be on set on Monday." And I'm in Orlando. And I remember just driving to Atlanta and I didn't even have an address. I just put Atlanta. I didn't even know where I was driving to.
What is this, like 2011?
This is 2011. I'm just driving to Atlanta, no address. And it's funny now. So I just drive to the production office, which is not where you really go for anything unless you have like a fitting or something. And it may or may not even be there. So I just drive to the production office. And when I think back to it, it's so funny because it's in Conyers, which you would never go to Conyers for any reason. So I drive to the production office in Conyers and they're like, "Oh, hi." They have no idea why I'm there, but I didn't have anywhere else to go. So I just went there. I don't even have a place to stay yet. And so they're like, oh, you're part of the cast. That's great. Like, this is where they're filming. So then I just drive to set. I'm not filming. I just drive to set. But I remember it's a night shoot. And I remember seeing like Jason Biggs. And I'm like, oh my God, like I've only seen this guy in the movies. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. And I was like, I'm just going to go sit with them at lunch. And I just went and sat with them and talked to them. They're probably like, why is this guy talking to me? And luckily I went to craft service and I was like, wow, there's just a truck full of food. This is cool. And the guy in craft service, Remington Steele, needed a roommate. And he's like, "Bro, I have a room in my apartment. It happens to have a bed in it, completely wrapped, never used. Give me $500 a month." And I was like, "You got yourself a deal." And so so that's how I found my place to stay. And then I just knew Atlanta was going to be great. And I decided to move with my two roommates, Hakeem Callender and Aaron Smalls. And then we moved after I was done filming American Reunion. And then the rest is history.
It really is history after that.
Yeah.
It's nice that you had a community with you, I think.
It's super important. It's
Right?
super important. I would never be where I am today without having good people supporting me. I mean, like, I didn't even realize it until this moment retelling that story that, like, I remember getting off the phone and telling everybody there, "Ah, my mom thinks I should go do this." And them being like, "Yeah, probably." And I'm like, "All right, if even everyone here at the party thinks I should stop and like go prep, I probably should." You know, and if it was someone else, it was like, "Ah, screw your mom. Let's party." Like I would have had another shot and continued probably. And, then would I have been tired? I don't know. I was in my 20s. You take on alcohol different in your 20s, so maybe I would have been fine. I don't know. But like, but yeah, even to then. But for sure, when I moved here, having a community of guys that were my roommates that like we were there for each other no matter what, like, if an audition came in, like, you kinda just stopped what you were doing because you knew that was the priority and we were there for one another, and celebrated one another. I think that's important too.
Huge. I think it's really hard to do anything well on your own.
Yeah.
Maybe right. I don't know. Like there are very few things, not just in the entertainment industry. Like two heads are better than one. And when you have a support system and you can bounce ideas and someone to take you out of a narrow-minded stance, it's helpful in all areas. I
Yeah.
truly believe that.
And also, like, why do you wanna do it alone? You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like, it's just anytime I'm doing any kind of like, even when I started Get Seen, I mean, Elon is no longer part of Get Seen, just because he has his own watch company, so he started focusing on that, and I was like, "Well, I really wanna go all in with Get Seen." But even that, like, as soon as Elon left, then, like, Hakeem jumped in and helped with different things, like, then when Hakeem was no longer doing things, like, I had other like, I always have people involved in what I'm doing because it's, like, more fun that way, like, I don't wanna do it alone, like, we're better together, you know?
Absolutely. Especially for actors. I mean, even now, I think the greatest actors have some of the greatest partners that they're reading with. It's like that's not a technical attribute to a self tape, but having a strong reader to me is just as important as having like great lighting, great sound,
Yeah.
great choices. Like having a great reader, having that person, that human connection with you to really help move anything forward is so important.
Yeah, absolutely. And even just, I mean, sometimes it's just like them being able to spark an idea of a new choice or it's not like they're there like giving you a complete coaching on it, but it's just like, hey, did you think about like maybe this or hey, this might be cool. And that might not even be the thing, but that might inspire a different idea in you. And it's just like, yeah, letting it be collaborative because it is.
hmm So one thing you said that got me thinking, and I love it, is there's Jason Biggs.
Yeah.
There are these guys. And I think one of the coolest things about meeting a celebrity in more of a professional setting is their voice, because you hear that voice, but you've only ever heard that voice like on movies and TV.
Oh, yeah,
And
yeah.
then you're hearing it for real, like in real life, talking to you. I remember once being at Avenue Q in New York City, seeing the show, and Tom Hanks was sitting behind me and could hear him laughing. It was like, I've only heard that laugh like in movies and TV.
Yeah.
And once I was on the phone with DB Sweeney, and I'm like, I know this voice. I've heard this voice since I saw Cutting Edge in theaters in the 90s. Like, he's talking to me and he's so cool. So, that being said, who is the coolest person that you have worked with or met where you might have had that moment?
Mm. The coolest person. I mean, I think it has to be probably like, it has to be someone with American Reunion because it's not for me, I think now, like, it's cool, like, seeing different celebrities, but I've kind of come to realize now that, like, we're all just people, and they're going through whatever they're going through in their life, and they're just here to do their job and work and create things or, like, maybe that day they're just like, "I'm just gotta go to work." You know what I mean? So
Everybody craps.
yeah, exactly.
Everybody craps.
Everybody craps. But I think at that time in my life, it was different. And so I found out that Neil Patrick Harris was in American Reunion, and I was not filming that day. And I was like, "You better believe I'm going to set though." And so I remember, uh, it was a quick thing, but I remember I got in the transpo van from base camp and NPH got in right after me. It wasn't even planned. Like, it was just like, "Oh my god, this worked perfectly." And yeah, so I just kind of chatted with him in the transpo van, and he was really like reading a Harry Potter book. And I think it just goes to show you, like, he had his book to just be ready to read because he knew he was gonna be waiting around, and he had like a cameo part in the movie. And so it was like really, it felt crazy to like meet him. And it was, yeah, I guess like nerve-wracking, if you will, but super fun.
Super cool. Would you say that? I mean, probably not one of those guys. Maybe though. Like, who would you say has influenced you in life, in career? Like, do you have anyone that you look up to, or anyone that has taught you a lot and they don't even know it?
Um, I mean, you said like talking about those guys. I mean, if I wanted to just grab someone from that set, Sean William Scott, who plays Stifler, I mean, like he is nothing like Stifler. That dude is so kind, so nice. Like I was so like, I don't know if you want to say like thrown off, but I mean, he was just the kindest, sweetest man. And I feel like that was probably like the first lesson that like being on set of like, I don't know if that's like comes just super naturally to him, but that was the first time that I'm like, I should make the effort to just be kind, because that was nice to, like, I like being on the other side of it, right? So if I like being on the other side of it, I want to put as many people as I can on the other side of that as well. So, when you talk about like those guys in particular, the American Pie guys, I was most kind of surprised by Sean William Scott and like how cool and kind and nice that he was. And I felt like connected, with you. Not that the other guys didn't, like I went and played golf with Tom Nicholas and he was awesome too. But yeah, it was pretty cool with Sean. Yeah.
It's interesting because I've heard you mention Tony Robbins a lot,
Hmm.
and I wondered if you were going to say him, because I do feel like what you're building is kind of a Tony Robbins for actors. Um, what's your response to that?
I I would say that yeah, I'm doing something with Tony Robbins this year, which I'm really excited about because I haven't met him before. But I do different hosting things, and like his big like behind the scene, like his virtual events, the people that run his virtual events, like I work with them a lot. And
Doing what?
like when I do like my host stuff, like they'll do like his events, but then they'll do other people's events too. And I'm doing some of those other events. And so it's just so inspiring to be around like that type of energy. And so Tony Robbins, I would say, like, is inspiring in the way. And I appreciate you saying like the Tony Robbins for actors, because like, yeah, I'm like, I feel like that's like I think that's like an easy it's an easy goal to say out loud. And I can say that to people that like you get it, like I want to be the Tony Robbins for actors or something. You're like, I know that, I think I've heard of that Tony Robbins guy. I think I know him, and he inspires people and like makes and motivates people and gets people to do things that they want to accomplish and to overcome fears and objections in their life. And like that's what I want to. I also want to do that. And I think my niche is actors. And during the pandemic, I was like, no, I'm going to do this for as many people as I can. I'll do it for entrepreneurs. And I realized like I actually don't like really relate with someone that has like a 9 to 5 job. Like I actually like don't get it. You know what I mean? And so I'm like, you know what? But like I get actors. And so all I want to do is have an impact. And so like utilize the audience that you have. And so Tony Robbins, I would say, is a big impact in my life in the sense of like, wow, uh look at how look at the caliber that he's doing this in. And so the sky is really the limit, right? And so, whether it be Tony Robbins or another one of my mentors is Michael Burnoff. I love Michael Burnoff. He does a lot of the same type of NLP training stuff, which I think allows people to really get out of their own ways and increase your communication and your confidence and your congruency with yourself and the commitment that you put out there. So I learn a lot, I think, from those, and I'm like, from those guys, and how can I bring that in to inspire actors in a big way? And like, I think just trying to take a different hold in coaching actors, and like, yes, let's learn Stanislavski and Meisner, and you got to know how to hit your mark, and you got to have on camera work. But like, if you're not happy, if you're not confident, if you don't know how to communicate with yourself and get yourself in the right state, like if you don't know how to do those things, it really doesn't matter if you know that shit. Like you need to be able to like be walking down your path of life in a very confident, fulfilling way. I think if you want to be successful in this. And I don't know that a lot of people teach it like that. And so like I would say like I'm very inspired by like the Tony Robbins style, because I don't really know anybody that's like trying to like put that into like the actor world and the actor psyche. And I think it's so important.
It really is, because not only when we're looking at things we're striving for, we can also see faults very quickly, especially on camera. Like, they say the camera doesn't lie. And I feel like if you are not confident, or you are desperate to make bills, or anything of that kind of a negative energy, you're not walking down that path with a strut, it shows up on camera. And it's not super attractive, and I'm not talking attractive like physically, I'm talking attractive energy. And I think that those tapes do not stand out with a positive energy when a casting director is watching somewhere between like 60 and 100 tapes, But if you are confident, not cocky, but confident, and you bring that authenticity of yourself with grounded feet, you're able to make better choices. It looks more attractive, and that energy literally leaves off of a self-tape and goes all the way up through all these decision makers and ends up putting money in your pocket. I truly believe that. You can see it. You can see it on camera. If we had like 10 in a row, I could show you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Desperation doesn't look good on anyone.
Yeah. And
Desperation doesn't look good on anybody.
no, and like I mean, I haven't seen it. Maybe it's out there. And so if it is, part of me, but I mean, there's not just like confidence for actors. Like that's not a class, And so because it's not like a class that everybody knows, like I don't think anybody's like, oh, I should probably work on that. Everyone's like, I got to do my on camera work, and I got to get my script analysis, and like, what is my method that I do? And all of those things are great, but it's like, if you know how to communicate better, are you a better actor? If you're more confident, are you a better actor? Yes to both. Like, I know everybody watching just said yes. Then why don't you work on it? And so that's something that I try to bring to light in that like Tony Robbins for actors type thing. And so I would love that. And I do remember, I have to tell you, I remember I was doing a challenge, and I think, and the day was like, it was all about confidence. So it was like no acting work. Sometimes I feel like I got to trick the actors. I'm like, come to the challenge. And then I'm like, and I'm going to teach you confidence. Um, and somebody put like a GIF in the Facebook group, like, man, Jesse was on fire tonight or something like that. And the GIF was of Tony Robbins. And I was like, they don't know it, but that is the biggest compliment you could have given right there, man.
I love that. I love that for you.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'll throw you one more too. I feel like knowing who you are is a big part of that process. It's easy to say, I know who I am, but do you? Because when you truly know your authentic self, like who you are, not just how tall and how much you weigh and what your gender is, but like, who are you? Like, you're the only one of you in the entire world. There's
Yeah.
billions of people, but there's no one else who's you. So how do you stand out sometimes amongst 80 people auditioning for a role, or 1,400 people auditioning for a role?
Mm.
If you're authentically just you, bringing you to that character, there's no one else that's going to do it like that, And I can't tell you how many times, like in a workshop or watching tapes, you'll see 60 people, and so many will do the lines with the exact same inflections, with the exact same choices. I'm like, they're not 60 of the same soul.
No, it's crazy, and it just goes to show you that they're just trying to do, like, what they think is right,
Hmm.
and in doing what you think is right, you end up looking just like everybody else.
Right. And if there's something about you that makes you different, like perhaps you have a small speech impediment, or you have a unique height or weight, or a unique background, something about you that you might have always thought was a fault might actually be your superpower.
Million percent. Heck yeah. And I think now more than ever, for sure.
Absolutely, more than ever now.
Yep.
And as an agent, we're like looking for it. And I love if you're teaching stuff like this. Well, I
Yeah.
know statistically, we've brought on a lot of clients that have been in Get Seen classes and workshops, and they're doing well financially. So like I thank you for preparing them on how to work with the agency and how to crush self-tapes, and then how to also present themselves on set and in business relationships with casting and production crew. It's great.
Yeah, I mean, you're so welcome, and I mean, it's just no, thank you, because I just have to like I'm like, but I have to thank you though, because I'm like I've learned it from doing the like years of workshops, right, and running all them, as like seeing the things that work, seeing the things that don't work, and it's just like I know this is annoying for people, but it's like um you can't like teach like time kind of like or experience, I guess would be more of the correct word. Like, you know, I've literally done like the Get Seen 360 like 300 times. Like, you know what I mean? Or more maybe. And so because of that, it's just like I see what works, I see what doesn't, I see what kind of turns on agents and casting directors and what turns them off. And so with that, that's how I'm able, I think, to teach it in a powerful way. And then the next thing I would say to that too is, and this is the hard part, and anyone that's come to a workshop and we haven't shown your tape, I'm sorry, but also like staying strong. I mean, I have to have so many tough conversations with actors that didn't follow the directions, and they're like, "You're scamming us. This is bullshit," and they're so upset about it, and depending on what it is, maybe I give them a credit because of a specific circumstance, or maybe I don't. It just kind of depends. And some people are like, "Doesn't matter. I'm never coming back to your studio because you do this." And being strong enough to say like, you might not understand the lesson, but I do, and I know how important it is, and I have to be stronger for everybody else. Not, I'm not going to cave because you're unhappy. So you can either jump on board and understand that like it's not by accident every single industry pro comes to Get Seen in some form. And so what we're teaching is powerful, or so get on the train or don't, but I would just say like being strong enough to like understand that I have to deal with that. It's unfortunate, but again, I'm like I'm being strong for the industry, and the raising the tides raise all boats. Or man, I botched that, but you know what I mean.
I do know what you mean. And it's interesting that you say you have to deal with it. And from an outsider's point, I appreciate that you deal with it because you believe in it so hard.
Yeah.
You believe that you're truly helping them. And from my seat, I know that it works because we do a self-tape mock audition to even get interest to join the agency. And I can't even tell you how many people do it incorrectly. And if people turn in their tape late, then they're going to show up to set late.
Yep.
One day, and I'm going to get a screaming call from someone. Why is this person not at their fitting? Oh, because they didn't read the instructions and they went to the wrong place. We want to work with smart people that follow instructions, that know how to read them and take it seriously. There's so much out of our control in this industry that if you have all the control right in front of you and you still mess up something, there's somebody else who's going to beat you. It's a very fast race.
Man, so true.
I love that Get Seen does that. I think that it helps prepare them for the real world. And sugarcoating doesn't get you very far. And I'm not saying that every other acting school in the world sugarcoats, but I do know that this seems to be a bit of a different kind of practice and teaching lesson. And I can't speak for all agents in the world, but we thank you, some of us.
Yeah, thanks, man.
And you are making a big impact, on actors. You said that that's important to you, making an impact on them. And one thing that I think is revolutionary that you're doing is this mentorship
Yeah.
program. I mean, I've got true stories from my seat where these people are in these mentorship programs and they're making way more money than they're spending because of the results. What is the mentorship program, if you want to kind of describe that origin story or the idea? 'Cause
Yeah.
it's really flying high right now.
Thank you, man. And yeah, I mean, and it was like, why did you like pass off like the workshops? It's like I created the mentorship. And, the mentorship really came from because I'm in a business mentorship. And so I know firsthand how powerful a mentor can be. I mean, like legitimately, when I think about when I started working with my mentor like 9 years ago, so it's nuts, time flies. Um, but like goals that he set for me, and when I say like he set for me, like I'm like, I think the goal should be this. And he's like, well, why don't we make it this? Pushes it just a little bit. And I'm like, he doesn't get it. That's not gonna happen. And then it does. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So now I just know, again, like sky's the limit, like money mindset is like such an issue for so many people, is like you just live in this like auto loop of like, oh, that's not for me, or I can't do that. And I was there too. So quickly, just I saw how powerful mentors could be. And so I'm like, I want to create this for actors. And it really created, like, as I was building it, like I realized that I went to conservatory in New York for 2 years. I got the best scholarship they give out, which is 50% off, right? So I got this 50% scholarship. I still ended up being in debt like 50 grand. And after 2 years, I didn't know how to get an agent. I didn't know how to get auditions. I didn't know how to make that $50,000 back, really. And so I was in New York and
ROI.
Yeah.
What's the ROI of education?
Yeah, exactly. And so, and by the way, I would never trade it, right? I lived in New York for like 5 years. It was incredible. Like it was so much fun. But at the end of the day, I went there to be an actor, and like something as simple, right? Something as simple as like I've never said this before, but like something as simple as like the school was at 39 West 19th Street. We shared the same floor with Telsey
Casting company.
Yeah, Telsey Casting Company. The same floor. And so like they kind of like sell that like as like and I'm like, oh my gosh, like one day they're just gonna call me in for a casting. Like, but I was showing up to school like in suits because I wanted everyone to know I was professional. I'm 17 years old. Why did no one tell me to stop wearing a suit? That was stupid. Do you know what I mean? Like something as simple as that, like, Jesse, we understand what you're doing. Understand that it should, like, you have a better shot doing this. Like a basic ass thing is like put on normal ass clothes.
That wasn't you being your authentic self.
No.
You didn't wear a suit 7 days a week.
No.
You showed up the way you thought was professional.
Right.
Right. Scene Studios was founded in helping connect actors with industry pros. We bring in the top Southeast agents and casting directors to really help you get seen by the people that matter. And we really focus this on two different ways, everyone. In one of our signature in-person classes or workshops called the Get Seen 360, you get to have a self-tape evaluated, then you get to work on the callback, and then you also work on a cold read. You spend 5 hours with an industry pro in the Get Seen 360. And then for our online class, and this signature workshop we have is called the Perfect Submission. And this mimics the Actors Access submission process, where you send in a headshot, a self-tape, and a demo reel or clip. And so this is an incredible way to really get feedback on what that submission is looking like. And so everyone, as a thank you for listening, every single month we're going to choose one winner, and you get to choose one of these classes. Any class that you want will be absolutely free, and this will be our way of saying thank you so much. So all you got to do is head to the pinned comment below, put in your name and email, and you will be entered to win. All you got to do is put in your email one time, and you will live there forever, which means if you submit this month, you could win 3 months from now, 4 months from now. So Go ahead and head to that pinned comment now and good luck, right? And so something as simple as that, they didn't tell me, and they just let me kept showing up in dress shirts. You know what I mean? And whatever, that's fine. I guess it's not their job. Their job was to teach me Meisner and film history and all that stuff and voice. And we did all that and it was great. So anyway, I got out of conservatory and just didn't really know how to be an actor at all. And so when I was developing the mentorship method of like what it's supposed to do for actors, I was like, I want this to be a fraction of the price and put you on a better, faster path being an actor in 6 months than in 2 years that I did in my conservatory. And so that's the goal. And what it is like where I was after 2 years, in 6 months, you will be further along and you will have spent less than 1/10 of the price.
And when did it start?
I started it now like 3 years ago.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. And we actually just recently put it on the website. It was invite only for a long time. And, even that, right? Like talking about like having to build it, now we have an incredible team of mentors, but I had to figure out like, what is the actor tracks and path in the trainings, like, what does that all look like? Because the first thing that I tell any of our additional mentors that come on is I say like, this isn't coaching. It's different. This is mentoring. Mentoring is way different than coaching. This is not, oh, we're going to give some self-tape feedback. That's what a lot of other people do. That's not what we do. We are like legitimately getting on this path with this human, with this person. And we want them to be leaving. Like if you, we'll say, look, I can't guarantee anything, but like, let's say you don't have an agent. My promise to you is like, let's get you an agent and average an audition a week. Like, would that be great? Like, that's kind of like the promise. Again, I can't guarantee it, but I'm like, I don't see any reason why we can't get there. But if that doesn't happen and you leave more confident and you leave happier than you came, then I believe we are successful in what we're doing. And so like, that's like an underlining thing, And I think that's something that, again, like you don't know you're getting that when you sign up, but like, that's what I'm doing behind the scenes is like, we want you to be more confident. And if if you're struggling with like anything, like we're here for you. Because again, if anything is kind of imbalanced in your life, if your family stuff is tough in some way, like you're not going to be able to be a good actor. You're not going to be able to give your best work. Like if your finances are not right, you're not going to be able to really focus the way that you need to. So it's like, how can we help kind of all of those things? And again, I'm not trying to be some like financial consultant or anything like that, but I'm like, I could probably give you a couple quick, advice, tips, something to like help you with that. Like, and I'm happy to, because I just want the people that come through the mentorship to know that like we got their back, we're helping them in a really powerful way, and we want to. And I think it's more impactful for me, and I know for the mentors as well. It's different to really be on their path in a really big way like that.
Absolutely. And I can 100% see how it's working, like from the clients that we have and the money that they're making. Like they're making more than they're spending, and they're easy, fun professionals to work with. And I don't know if they would have been pre-mentorship program or not, because I'm only seeing the results. You know, I'm only working with people who are really ready. They're really ready to work with us and to work in the professional world. It's great.
I remember, I feel like when you first heard about the mentorship, and again, like at this point, I had probably already been doing it for like a year and a half, 2 years, right? Because it was kind of like, if you want to say like on the DL for a while, because I was still figuring it all out. But you were like, man, I wish I had something like this.
Absolutely. I mean, the amount of money that was invested into my education is ridiculous. Not just to mention time, all of the time that I spent, because time is really worth more than money, in my opinion. Now that I'm over 40, it's like you just have so little. And I mean, I could be attempting to close deals and doing breakdowns for project shooting all over the world at like 11 p.m. if I really, really wanted. But I'd rather be with my family, or sleeping. Time is so valuable that I think if you're going to graduate from high school and go off to get a degree for 4 years and then a master's for another 3, you've just lost 7 years of your life that you could have been doing what you want to be doing.
God, I know.
And I'm not opposed to that education. I actually think it's wonderful. But there are other options out there. There are other ways to get educated. And I think that this is a fascinating new way because there is no right path to becoming a consistent professional working actor. No one has proven like this is how you do it, But I think that this is a new road that gives people a new option to maybe get there quicker and cheaper, which I think is what everybody in 2024 wants. Everybody wants everything a little quicker and a little cheaper.
For sure.
And so let's just say someone were to do a mentorship program for 2 years and it costs them $12,000. I'm just throwing something out there. I would find it very hard to believe that at the end of those 2 years, you don't have an agent. I'd find it hard to believe you don't have an agent at the end of 1 year and you're not already working, unless you're one of like the world's shittiest actors.
Bro, and dude, the way you just put that too is just like, it's crazy. Cause if you think, like, if you compare it, right, to like what I did, again, I'm not taking away my conservatory training at all. Okay. But like the biggest thing that I learned, I would say, from my conservatory training was live in the moment and do less. I teach it a lot. I think a lot of people teach it, so it's like, all right, so you're still getting that type of that training within a 2-year mentoring program if you stayed in for 2 years. And like what I did in conservatory for 2 years, had no idea how to get an agent, actually move forward, book work. And then if you did it the other way, like I would love to do we should make a documentary about this. Just pay for someone to go to conservatory, do the other version.
I'm down.
Like I would love to watch the difference because I feel like it would be night and day. Night and day.
It's fascinating. It really is. I mean, I'm watching these actors. We had an actress recently. She was in the mentorship program. And, first, we brought her on through a Get Scene Perfect submission where she did a workshop. It's like, we don't have anyone just like her. And she was really good. Pitched her to the team. She didn't have any credits. Where everyone was like, yeah, we don't have anyone just like her. And she was really good. She's got great materials. I had no idea she was in the mentorship program. We brought her on. And then she started booking commercials and print constantly. TV and film was a little harder because she had a dialect. Sure enough, some huge superhero movie comes along with a role where her dialect, her natural dialect could work. Booked it.
Yep.
And the amount of money that she's going to make on that just up front, let alone residuals, probably covers all of the mentorship program for like 2 years. And I'm not trying to sell the mentorship program. Like, this is fact.
You know what? This is going back though to what you had said earlier about like understand what makes you unique. She most likely would not have booked that without her dialect, but for the longest time, she's thinking the dialect is holding me back. The dialect's holding me back. You wouldn't have got this if you didn't have the dialect.
The dialect was her superpower.
That was the superpower
for
the superhero movie.
Oh yeah. Which I think should bring us to our superhero. This should bring us to our superhero spotlight sign off.
Oh, all right. Yeah.
All right. So I got to ask you these spotlight questions that you're just so famous for asking all these industry pros. What's something you're incredibly grateful for today?
I'm incredibly grateful for, I think like where I am right now in this like creating, I'm like very excited about creating and you and I doing this here and just like, creating the mentorship. I mean, I'm just in this like creative space and like, I think like really owning it and excited about it and ready to grow within it and like understand maybe some things will work and some things won't and like that's fine and so I think I would just say like I'm grateful for like where I'm at right now. I'm grateful for the relationships that I have, you, my wife Candy, I think I think being able to acknowledge where you're at, where you've come from, I think is important. So, I would say if I just stop and think for a second, like I'm grateful for like where I am today. And I think the track of where I'm going.
That's great. Would you say that there is a book, movie, or TV show that has had a huge impact on your life?
Yes, it's a movie, and it's Primal Fear with Richard Gere and Edward Norton. And I remember I watched this movie when I was in high school. And you know what? If you haven't seen the movie yet, like you're not all of a sudden gonna watch it, so I'm just gonna spoil it for you. But Edward Norton plays this what you think is like this schizophrenic, like multi-personality guy. And so like he kills someone. And then in the movie, you're like, oh, maybe he didn't really kill him. And so he has his lawyer, Richard Gere, like really fight for him. And so they end up winning the case. And so then at the very end of the movie, you realize that the character Edward Norton is playing actually acted the whole thing. And he knew he would be able to get out of it if he played this other part. And no joke. I remember it was like at this time, like I never watched credits, but like I just couldn't move. I remember the credits rolled and my mouth was open. I I was like, that movie was incredible. And it was actually that Edward Norton has a monologue in that movie that I did for my audition for the New York Conservatory for Dramatic Arts that got me the 50% scholarship. And when I think back now, I'm like, that monologue had to not be that good. There's no way I was good at that. But I feel like they just must have been like, man, this guy went for it. Like, you know, playing two different characters. I like throw a chair or whatever I did. Like, they just were like, he was so brave, you know? So I think I probably got it more for my boldness, you know? I don't know if the monologue was that good when I think back now. But so yeah, so I mean, that movie just like I was completely blown away. And then I just loved the movie so much. I actually took a monologue from it. And at that time, I just like kept rewinding it on VCR, right? And like writing the monologue. So that one definitely like changed the trajectory of my life for sure.
Isn't it fascinating how a movie can do that?
Yeah.
How an actor can do that?
Yep.
To like everyone watching right now, you could be that person that changes one life or numerous lives, or in like this case, someone's life like Jesse, who then changes the lives of thousands of actors. You know, it all stems from the work of an actor
Yeah.
and a writer and a director and all of the million pieces that it took to create that puzzle, you know?
Yep.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Is there anything about your daily routine that you really cherish?
You know, it's interesting. I feel like when I put this question in, I like put it in like totally selfishly to try to steal from other people, but I feel like my daily routine like changes a lot. Um yeah, like sometimes I'm like I'll get on a good routine of like walking Dolly every morning for a while, and you know, sometimes I'm waking up and I get straight to work and I'm checking emails. Sometimes I wake up early with candy and go to the gym. So I do feel like my routine changes a lot, but there's like one thing that I really like about it or that I cherish. I guess it has to be coffee. I guess it has to be coffee, and I usually drink decaf. So it's not even like, "Oh, I need the caffeine to get out of bed." I'm usually drinking decaf coffee, and I just think coffee is like a comfort food of sorts.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there anything in your life that you're working on right now that you're really excited about or want to improve on?
I think the thing that I'm working on right now in my life is being a better leader, uh, and I think I feel like I've been on, you know, this journey and like really having that intention for months now of, you know, yes, I can be a leader for like other actors, you know, but you know, with the mentorship team and with the Get Seen team, you know, I have to be a different kind of leader for peers, you know. And so you know, juggling that and understanding that like sometimes you just got to listen more and you know, don't be reactive and you want to be more collaborative, you know, like make sure you don't fall into any kind of like dictatorship kind of, you know, like it's my way, and how can we accomplish the goal having everyone inspired? Uh, so I think that's what I've been working on lately. I think.
I think you're getting there from the outside. I'm watching all the podcasts. I
Yeah.
think you're getting there, man.
Thank you.
And it's tough because you give out a lot of advice, but I do want to ask if you, in just like one sentence or one small piece of advice that you could give to the world as if you were going to leave it behind one day, like what's the one piece of advice you would leave us with?
I think if I was gonna like put it into a sentence, it would be like confidence is key. I think with anything that you want to do, accomplish, you have to have confidence. And I think some some people just like allow themselves to live in a place where they're like, yeah, I'm just not confident and like accept it. And I'm like, what the like we gotta slap them upside the head. No, confidence is key. If you want to grow to the person you want to be, you got to be confident that you can do it. If you want to make more money, you got to step into that confidence. Like you have to be able to like access that confidence. I'm not saying like you're confident no matter what the circumstances, but like being able to access the confidence that's inside of you, and every single person has it because you have been confident one time in your life. You have accomplished things in your life that like instilled and installed confidence in you. We just don't access it as often as we should. And so I think that if like anything you want to do, you remember that confidence is key and you bring it back to confidence, you have a better shot at accomplishing it.
Amen. Amen.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much to everybody that watched Get Seen Unscripted today with our very special guest and the founder of the podcast, Jesse Malinowski. And I made him do this. He didn't necessarily want to do this, but I thought it was important because he really is affecting a lot of lives. And from my seat, as I keep saying, I'm seeing the success. So thank you everybody for watching. Again, if you liked it, feel free to subscribe and give it a like and or any cool comments that came to your mind during this episode. And thanks so much. We'll see you again.
Wait, no, it's not actually over. We also have some cool news because Jason is also on that side of the table because we wanted to give him I guess we'll say like a quick rehearsal practice run because Jason Lockhart is gonna have his own show right here. If you are watching on YouTube, on the Get Seen YouTube channel. So if you're listening in on the podcast, make sure you head to YouTube for this brand new show. Jason Lockhart, tell us about it.
Thank you. Yes, I will be hosting a new show, very Jimmy Fallon Tonight Show-esque, as I like to say. It's called Talent Agent Talk, where I will be literally publicizing for some of my actors and actors that I don't work with, because publicity is obviously very important. And I'm not a publicist, I'm an agent. But it's important to get your work out there. But at the same time, I think just saying, look at me, is not as powerful as I did this really cool thing, but here's what I learned from it. And so it will not be like the podcast. It won't be like an hour long. It's going to be probably 10 to 15 minute episodes where we're going to have an actor and their exciting booking story and the lesson that they learned through the booking to set and or through collecting the paychecks. And I'll be your host. Feel free, if you do have an exciting booking story with a great lesson learned, now you can already start pitching them to us.
I love it.
The email is talentagenttalk@gmail.com. Again, that's talentagenttalk@gmail.com. Feel free to start pitching us your exciting booking story with a lesson that you learned from set.
And I'm so excited for this, man. I mean, one, when you asked me what was some, in the spotlight sign off, like what's something that you're, really excited about kind of right now and grateful for. And, this is like one of the things. It's like is creating. And I remember, and I told you this, and this is so important, I think, for people, is like, I was like in a place and I was telling you like, gosh, I just like want to create more. Like we need to create more shows. Like the podcast has really inspired me. And then like, you're like, hey man, well, I want to do XYZ. And it actually took me a minute to like be like, oh my God, like this is what you've been asking for. Like I didn't see it immediately. And like, so that's just like a quick lesson for everyone is like if you look, like the things that you're asking for might be there. And so anyway, I'm just super amped about it. And I think actors are going to have so much fun. One, kind of reminiscing on the story and maybe revealing to themselves the lesson. Like, cause I think sometimes you need to talk it out to even reveal it to yourself. But then I think other actors and people in the community love to hear these stories. And so I think it's going to be awesome that you're sharing them with so many people. So thank you, man. It's going to be so much fun.
It is going to be fun, and it's going to be quick and painless and free for everyone to watch. You know, this isn't something that we're doing to like be money hungry. It's something we're doing to have a good time.
Yeah.
You know, and to get more word out there and more free lessons. And you know, they say it's showbiz, but the real life stories that I'm living every hour of the day, along with Kelly and Madison and the rest of the team at AMT, it's just mind boggling. You know, the lessons that we're learning through experience. And if we can bring some of these experiences in private communications that we've had with actors or actors are willing to share about, I think it could be really fruitful information for aspiring actors or colleagues of other actors to help people propel forward.
I love it. Well, everyone, make sure you're the host today, so I'll give it back to you. But again, if you're just listening, make sure to head to the YouTube channel and subscribe so you can catch the additional show that we're going to be producing right here at Get Seen, featuring the new host, Mr. Jason Lockhart in Talent Agent Talk.
Thanks.